Hi everybody, we're going to be doing the 1991 film K9000 today. Literally just starting off there with a coin going into a vending machine. Weirdly, no opening logos, not on this version. There were sort of opening logos for the DVD, sort of as if it was sort of, it was released the DVD and everything. But yeah, just kicking straight into it. What is funny about this film though, because according to IMDb, it's 1991, and occasionally I can be a little bit hit and miss with years. Like say sometimes I'll think, oh yeah, a film came out mid 80s and it turns out it's like 1990, or I think a film came out like 1982 and it'd be 1974 or something. But like I thought this was about maybe 88 or something like that. But like I say, according to Internet Movie Database, it's 1991. And when I watched this last night, I'm sure right at the very end of the credits it says copyright 1989. So it's one of them weird things that if it was like sort of, it's right at that very tail end of like 1989 and sort of, there's like a little bit of a delay and it's sort of, I don't know, sort of being registered with the MPAA, or it was a TV movie and then it come out on DVD in like 1991, but oh, never mind. But this is one of those films as well, and I guess everybody's, you're more keyed into or tuned into things that you grew up with and things like that. But when this film was brand new, and I've literally got the tape in front of me of the experimental MGM big box experimental version of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and there was a trailer for this film on that tape. And this is like been done in so many films. What's funny, I was watching this last night, and again, I know it's like, like nowadays it's really fashionable to be meta about films and sort of deconstruct them in a cool, fashionable way. But I just thought, like, these two cops stumble on like this robbery, but it's like in a way they're like two of the worst cops. I don't know why I got this impression that like they were like two. Even though I've seen this film like quite a few times, I was like under the impression it was like they were like, oh no, of all the cops that could have stumbled on it, like as you see people there like watching it. What's kind of great about that though, because it kind of doubles as if there was a robbery happening, chances are people would be standing around watching it. And it's great because it's a film being made, so people would probably sit around watching it. Yeah, but I got the big box X-Rental Halloween 4, and I brought it X-Rental from my local video shop years ago. But when I did rent it, when it was new, there was a trailer for K9000 on there, and it was a great trailer, proper sort of like, almost like a featurette sort of thing, saying, new film K9000 from the writer of Die Hard, Commando, and all this kind of thing. It was Stephen Souza. And obviously, I mean, anybody now for that matter, if anybody growing up in the 80s, films like Commando, Die Hard, 48 Hours, these were the go-to action movies of the day. I mean, and I can even remember when Steven DeSouza got to direct the first Street Fighter movie. I know he was always one of those people, I think this was a scene off the trailer as well, he was always one of those writers and directors there. He was just instantly, fascinating. He had you could tell he was like, like obviously he's an educated man, I assume, but you could tell like, he was really clever and really sort of, witty and everything. Like he must these little interviews what he did with Empire and things from, working from years ago, where somebody said to him like, oh, with Street Fighter, I'm paraphrasing, so I can't remember the exact quote, but somebody said, oh, if your next film's a success after Street Fighter, how much will you charge to direct a film? And he said to him, $1 million. Then he said, how much will you charge if it's a flop? And he says 25 cents. And I don't know why that was stuck with me. It's been pretty funny. But this and one thing as well, when I was looking for the trailer last night, when I decided I was going to do this commentary, I thought, I'm sure it's on Halloween 4, like 99.9% certain. But I got the tape out, and it's one of the few tapes where you used to get this occasionally with X-Rentals, where it would say trailers on this tape include. It's got like a little portion of the sticker on the cassette would tell you what the trailers were. And it wasn't listed. I was like, oh no, I'm sure the trailer was like, I thought maybe it was Karate Kid 3, because I remember buying the X-Rental to Karate Kid 3 at the same time. I thought, maybe, it felt like maybe a Columbia might have released it on video and stuff. But I put the tape into Halloween 4, and boom, it comes straight on. Like, I must have obviously rewound it at that point from before. But yeah, so it was like, I thought that sticker was a waste of time. It didn't even say what all the trailers were. Just have a quick sip on my drink. Coffee, by the way. I'm doing a lot of these commentaries stone cold sober. That's really worrying. Yeah, but what's interesting about this film, though, like there, this scene, like it's so sort of derivative in a way, like especially because again, like you say, oh, see what they did there? He just pulled a bra off a mannequin, and you can see mannequin boobs. This is a funny in joke here, like running joke, I should say, where he gets his wallet out, and there's never no badge in there. That's quite funny. Yeah, but this is like you've seen this in a million cop movies, kind of and when I was watching this last night, I thought, is this a deliberate like sort of parody of Surge from Beverly Hills Cop? Because we've just seen the sign, the Beverly Hills sign outside, and then he's an outrageous sort of art gallery fashion sort of fashion shop owning guy, and it just instantly thought of Surge from yeah, that guy, Bernard Pinchot. Or whatever you say his name. I can say their name Surge better than the actual actor's name. But yeah, so you've like seen this in a million films, and then you've got like the renegade car, and even Luke's he's dressed exactly like Mel Gibson. And then that's exactly like Roger Murtaugh, Danny Glover's character from Lethal Weapon. And then you've got the angry police detective. That's one thing as well, I'll say it while it's on screen. But he's using a payphone there. Surely he's at work and he could use a phone that was free. But that just, being a payphone fan, that kind of stuck in my head. It was just like, oh yeah, a payphone. Yeah, but you've seen this a million times before, like this renegade cop who doesn't play by the rules, and he's like, say, he's semi-fashionable and things like that, sort of thing. He's kind of cool. But then I did think you could tell there was a creative variety behind it. Because when I was watching it last night, and it was just like on the background, I was just on the internet, just doing research, just checking the IMDb page and different things and that. And it was one of those things where it did play slightly different than how you would be expecting it to play out. And obviously, it's kind of probably was released to I won't say cash in, but it was definitely made on the heels of things like Lethal Weapon, K-9000, Turner and Neutral, those kind of films, and it's like a big composite of like all these 80s action movies all thrown into one, like it's like sci-fi, and it's it's got, like I say, it's got the dog in there, and like it's like Lethal Weapon and things like that. But just when I was watching it just in the background last night, I did feel that you could tell there was an interesting writer. And then one thing I really did think was good, all the main cast, well, that's one thing actually, and when I check on IMDb, I'm always sort of especially if it's a film from the 80s, obviously, if it's a film from it's like something like Nosferatu or something, you expect mostly people to have passed away. But I was really surprised when I was clicking on people's names on IMDb for this film. It's like, wow, the director's died, and oh wow, this person's died. This person's died. Like that lady on screen there who's from Psycho 1998. I think she's passed away. And you're like, oh god. And then, but like I'd clicked on the three main leads, and they're all still working. Like Chris Mulkey, who's the Mel Gibson sort of prototype. He's going to be in the new series of Twin Peaks, and I thought that was cool. Then you've got Dennis Haysbert, who's like the Roger Murtaugh character, and he was in Ivan Reitman's new film that I was watching on Sky yesterday. It was kind of like one of those sort of big chill kind of Grand Canyon St. Elmo's Fire type films. And I'm just getting a title now, so I can't quite remember what it was called. It's called Jason Reitman, sorry, Freudian slip. It was called Men, Women and Children. It was like one of those, like say, sort of, people talking about the problems kind of films. But again, that's kind of an interesting thing in a way, because, and I think Dosa Buckley made a really good point on YouTube about music fans versus people who just like one or two genres of music, and I thought it really sort of summed it up in a really good way, because I was just thinking about it, like with films like this, only really movie fans would watch a film like this. And I know it sounds really silly in a way, but I think this has always been the case, where you get people who like movies and they'll go see a film at the cinema, or they'll go see popular films on TV and stuff. But when you talk to proper quote unquote movie fans, and they'll know who people like Stephen de Souza are. They'll know who people like Jan de Bont are and things like that. And they'll rent videos, and they'll even like say digital downloading things off like like Netflix, or streaming I should say, off Netflix and things like that. And I really do think it's such a fine line, subtle difference, that like sort of I've just been sort of casually sort of because when Fantastic Four came out last week and I did the review of that, just people talked about that film, and then just coming at it from like a film fan angle, all this controversy that surrounded it, it was almost like that completely passed me by. It was literally like what all this stuff was going on, and it was like say a film like this that I do think like sort of I think there's three posts on the IMDb message board for this film, and there is a couple of reviews on Amazon and a couple of reviews on IMDb and things like that. A few reviews, sorry. I was getting gas when I'm doing a commentary, and I don't drink coffee or more recently. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting that say how some films that I've got this built-in core audience, and at the same time I think this is one of them films where it's probably got, even though there isn't many posts for it on IMDb, I'm kind of completely contradicting myself. I was surprised if this film's got a relatively cult following, because like say of people like Stephen de Souza, of people like say Chris Mulkey, and the fact that it's an animal like movie, and then the fact that it's like kind of it was in that like the last big sort of VHS straight to DVD, straight to video movies kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if like say there is sort of even like in this internet age, I think there is some movies there you think if there was a cult movie, you'd think everybody would know about it now. Look at this, he drives Christine. Well, actually, that'd be kind of good one. Actually, this will be a good sign to see sort of how popular this movie is. Going to the car movie database and see if there's an entry for it. And that's one thing. I think I have said this before, but sometimes I feel like I was watching this last night. Like I said, that I feel like I've based my whole life on this guy. That like, even though obviously I'm doing a commentary and I'm going to upload it to YouTube and I'm going to do a blog post for it, things like that, I do sometimes feel like I'm sort of not anti-technology, but sometimes I feel like I've got like a love-hate relationship with it, and like I still love VHS and I still love vinyl, and I still even can leave my mobile phone in the house. I'm not completely addicted to it and things like that. So I have got like a big soft spot for characters like this. Getting a bottle of Jack out the. I should have done a theme drink. It should have been there. Just having K9000 on car instant movie database. Yeah, that's one thing I was going to say. There was no results found. I've typed it in wrong. I don't know how people. Even though I grew up in that generation, I almost don't know how people sort of not coped, because that's completely an exaggeration and completely crazy way of looking at it. This song that was playing yesterday, I was thinking, is this a song just written for this film, or because it did have a very sort of almost like, not like it was an naff song, but I felt like it was written for this movie. But like now, and I must have said it on loads of commentaries, but I almost can't remember a time when I'd come in from the cinema and not check IMDb, or like say checking like what people say about this Fantastic Four movie and stuff like that. And it is fascinating to think that like I've grown up in a time period where there was no internet, there was you only used to get film magazines and things like that, and then like growing up where it's just like I was watching North Sea Hijack yesterday on Channel 5, and after it had finished I went on Twitter, and there's people, I'm watching it, saying, it was only like a handful of people, but people are like, there's people out there, and like years ago, you just never know that, you might just stumble on, I was watching that yesterday, and stuff. There's a completely different time period to grow up in, but that's just one thing as well, talking about, like, say, people watch films now in like a meta way and things like that. But watching this last night, because I just watched Airplane 2 the other day, and one of the first things I thought was, wow, they've actually got the computers to blink in sequence. And that's what's kind of interesting about this film as well. Like, say, like, literally as those lights, they're all blinking in sequence. And but this is that thing where this is like a 90s movie, or very late 80s, early 90s movie, But when you look at like these banks of computers with flashing lights, this could be something from the 60s or 70s. And then what's like is like, you know, something that when you've got like a bit of an attuned eye for things like this, like if you notice all the TVs, the overlaid optically, when people type in passcodes on things, you can tell they're all typed in optically. But this is one thing as well, and again, I feel like I must have said this on the commentary, but all them dogs are in cages. And like I say, when I was a kid, I didn't have a dog and things like that, but I did know people that had dogs. And you'd watch something like this, and if you saw a dog in a cage, you'd be like, "Look at this, you know, animal cruelty, and you know, it's borderline Planet of the Apes science fiction sort of thing." But now, and I don't know where this came from, and you can get them from like loads of mainstream shops. I've seen quite a few people that do it, where when they leave the house, they put a dog in a cage. And it's like, I remember watching this last night, I said I watched this probably turned up in my mind. But yeah, like, this is one of those things though where it's fascinating just to see just in my lifetime that, like, I just can't, I mean, like, I've got 2 cats and things, and I know it's slightly different with a cat that, you know, that sort of, yeah, they go to sleep for hours and hours and hours and things like that, but, like, even if I had a dog, I can't imagine just putting a dog in a cage. You know, just do you think, yeah, I'll leave the house for a few hours, because if you think, well, I mean, dogs can chew up the house, well, it's almost like, A, take your dog for a walk more so it'll have, you know, so it'll expend its energy, and then it's almost like, I don't know, it's part and parcel of having an animal of like, oh, it's kind of, oh, there's a bit of dog fur about, well, you almost kind of expect that really, surely, that you don't expect, and especially like a dog like a German Shepherd, I don't think would anybody expect to have a German Shepherd and not expect a little bit of damage to their house. You know, it's like, and that's nothing. Actually, there was a guy in this. I think I could find him on IMDb. I didn't look for about 2 minutes, but I'm sure one of these in this gang is one of the guys, one of the rapists from Friday the 13th Part 8 who Jason kills. I'm trying to point him out on screen when he comes out, and we know one of the other guys as well is Jeff Amada. And Jeff Amada is so ace. He's one of those people. I don't think he was in Lethal Weapon, where, you know, he's in like Lethal Weapon and, you know, Ghosts of Mars and things like that. So it's like, again, what's kind of cool, really cool about, like, say, films like this. And I think she was in. So yeah, I think she was in Dallas or Dynasty when I was checking last night. Multitask, trying to type in IMDb K9000. Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, that's like there, and you can tell, like, you can just see the text moving on that keypad, like as if it's been overlaid, and that's amazing though, really, when sort of, yeah, that that blonde lady was, she was in Dynasty among other things. Yeah, but when you look at these sort of, you know, sort of the cast and everything, it's got, like, say, she's just done a film called 11 Seconds, 2015. But when you look at sort of the cast in this, it's got that perfect kind of, again, talking about people like Stephen Souza and things like that, it's got that perfect middle of the road, or not middle of the road, but that perfect just falls right in between super successful things like Die Hard, Twin Peaks and things like that, and then sort of that, like, kind of, you know, people like Jeff Amada, where, you know, your average just everyday film would never notice people like that, you know, like, who's that, like Al Leong from Die Hard, you know, you've got that looks like a TARDIS, that doesn't, it's got that kind of, you know, 1996 Doctor Who vibe to it as well. But this was one of those films though as well, like, say, I don't know how often it happens anymore. I mean, I know sort of, you know, if you saw a video shop now, it's almost like, you know, finding a lost ark or something, but, like, say, I was trying to work out last night if this would have been a film that, like, was filmed in widescreen, or was it just literally and strictly or literally, if this was literally a made-for-TV movie, because, like, just say for argument's sake it was a made-for-TV movie, I think that's something like a sort of sub-industry, I don't think that's a phrase, but like an industry that's like to completely disappear. Do they still release straight to TV movies or straight to video or TV movies sort of worldwide and things like that, because like I say, it seems like a lot of films that I saw when I was a kid, like things like Jewel was released, to TV and on video and things, and I just thought it was like 100% sort of cinema movie. And then I can remember going in the video shop and seeing things like Street Talk and Airwolf and things, then just realising they were like the pilots to TV shows. And then looking back on it, like with like again a more of a sort of a more of an experienced eye, I love this movie, and it's got a pretty strong pedigree with those kind of smarts who will be a good journalist nowadays. I just thought that yesterday when I was thinking this has got a pretty good pedigree. It's like, oh my dog. But yeah, so this has got it's had a lot going for it, relatively, but stars who've been in things, and let's say people like Stephen Souza, but like I say, so it was like a TV movie released to video. But would that happen nowadays? Like I say, I mean, I know, like I say, if you find a video shop and things like that, it's almost like, but even like say on Netflix, do straight to video things just come on Netflix now instead? I'm thinking about it, I guess they kind of do. That was one thing though about this film as well, and again, it's the same with anything else, when you're sort of waiting for it and things like that, or when you're looking for it, and again, sort of to date this commentary really badly, that like looking at people talking about the Fantastic Four, and I think there's a lot of people out there who just had it in for it as soon as that film was sort of announced, and especially since it's come out and things. But people saying, oh, it's boring. I was thinking, wow, if people who watch that Fantastic Four film, if they watch this, they'd probably go into a coma, because I love stuff like this, and I love slow-paced movies or films that are drawn out or whatever. But one thing about this film, and one thing I loved about the Ang Lee Hulk movie, was it took about 40 minutes for the Hulk to appear in it. And when I was watching this last night, I was like, it'd been on for about 20 minutes, and then I thought, oh, the dog hasn't been on it. Dog hasn't been in it, and I thought, oh, it's still, it was about the 20-25 minute mark, and I thought, oh, it's probably gonna, and then it was like, it got about half an hour, and I was like, oh, the dog hasn't been in it, and then it was really sort of starting to catch my attention that I was like, wow, the dog doesn't, and it'd be interesting just timing like the 22 minute mark now. And it'd be interesting just to see when the dog, I know you've just seen sort of inside that environment, so they give you a little taste of it, like kind of thing. You've seen when Nina grew up in that truck is proper like the truck in Dio. I know all trucks look the same, but I think you could show the terrorists arrived in Die Hard and that truck, and I think a lot of people would sort of think very, very similar. But we got like to the 20 minute mark, and like nearly a good 25 minutes into this, and one of the main draws of this movie would have been the fact that it's got it's a buddy cop movie between a man and a dog. So it's like say that looks like a Nintendo Wii there, the bottom corner of the screen, bottom left hand corner of the screen. But so it's kind of like, again, it's so cliched in so many things in this way. You've seen, like say, like this could be a million cop movies, like there we woke up and there's a little bit of whiskey in a glass by the side of his bed and things like that, and like say you've got all those things. But then to sort of think, the dog part of the movie we won't put it until a good, again, I didn't time it last night and I should have done really, but I'm pretty sure it's not at least until at least 40 minutes, but we'll see, I guess. The tree huggers. This is a great thing as well, a great movie thing, and I heard, I was listening to the Never Say Never Again commentary by Zarbin the other day, and I have thought it myself, but I did think he sort of summed it up brilliantly when you see the footage of Bond being trained at the start, and M's playing it back, and it's all perfectly edited like you saw in the film, and it's like in this, when you see them watching the footage back, and you can tell it's just movie footage that they're watching. And again, it's that thing of it's meta nowadays to totally deconstruct a film, and I think I really enjoyed it at first, the way when movie fans started getting a bit more credibility, for want of a better word. And like when I was growing up, and if you ever saw a film fan, a hardcore film fan, you're like, oh my god, and you just spend an hour talking to this person at like the bus stop or something, or like in a shop. If like, I'll never forget like when the Phantom Menace came out and I bumped into somebody, and I was just standing by the Star Wars toys and talking about the Phantom Menace, and it was like, oh, I like the Phantom Menace, and oh, I didn't think Jar Jar was that bad, I didn't think Jar Jar was that bad either. You talk to this person for like there you can tell that screen is just overlaid, and I was having trouble with the video. This is really this is like it's the technology doesn't like it. I love as well though, it was like VHS was considered technology then. But yeah, that like sort of the thing of like, yeah, if you bumped into a film fan years ago, it was like, oh my god, it was like you couldn't believe it. But like, yeah, so the slow incline of film fans sort of getting like a bit more sort of, you know, everybody now is, oh, I like Netflix, me, and you know, everybody thinks like, you know everything about films, and you know, talking about, oh, this film's bit this and this film's that. And again, actually talking about, I can't remember the person's name, but I thought this was so funny. I was watching a review of Fantastic Four. And this is something everybody does nowadays. I'm sure most people at some point have thought, yeah, if I got directed a movie, I could really do a good job. But one thing I thought was really funny was I was watching a YouTube review of Fantastic Four. I won't keep going on about it, but I will. But and somebody said, I'm a film student and I think I could do a Fantastic Four film better than Josh Trank did. And this guy's YouTube review was really, really amateurish. I was thinking, if you're sitting there saying that like, oh, I could direct a better film than, you know, a film that's out there, probably make sure your YouTube clip is something pretty spectacular before you say that, you know. Yeah, but it is one of these things though where that like, I do think it's interesting the way you get, like you say, oh, some people do like can watch something like this in that way. And actually talk about VHS, I do think it's funny, and I know I'll be saying this for the next, you know, however long I'm alive for, hopefully 50 years, but I always think it's funny about VHS, like saying this, it's even with my sensibilities about VHS, I love VHS, I still look at this thinking, oh, that's quite funny that like, you know, that there's a VHS video in this, because like now it'd be so sort of like, you know, if there was a VHS video in something, it'd be really postmodern. But I was on this training course the other day, and I was going to my dad's, and I got a VHS with me for watching at my dad's, and the amount of people that were looking at this VHS as if it was like, wow man, where'd you get that from? And I don't want to say it like that because they didn't, but it's like, oh, where'd you get that from? And oh, VHS, you still use VHS? And it's like, even now I'm still always constantly amazed that I'm pretty sure 10 years from now, 20 years from now, if I'm still using VHS, or there's VHS that I'm looking around, that people like, I don't know, people act or like react like this, that like, why do people think that these things don't work anymore? That like, they're sort of so astounded that like, wow, that old technology works, like they've only got like stuff from the last 2 years in the house or something. It's like, it's amazing to me. I was expected him just to lean out there. I was just watching too much Naked Gun or something, just like, is we going to fall out that window? Talk about watching stuff matter. That's another thing though as well, but like, I think this guy was born in like 1950 or something like that, Chris Mulkey. I'll just get his page, I'm just going to go back a couple. And it's like this though, what's funny though, he was born in 1948. I don't know what age that makes him when this was filmed, but yeah, that's one thing I always used to think was funny about films, was when I used to watch this as a kid, I think that like say, or when I was growing up I should say, I think Chris Mulkey in this was about 20, and it's really interesting to watch it now as a 41-year-old, that like you think, wow, he was probably 30 something when he made this and stuff. It's like, wow, you know, he's like way older than he was expecting. And that's actually, this is an interesting thing about this film, because it'd be really interesting. I should have done this yesterday thinking about it, but just street fever on a cardigan, which is a sentence I wasn't expecting to say. Yeah, but I should have done this research yesterday. But it'd be really interesting to pinpoint when this film was actually really made, because I'm sure it says 1989 in the credits, but that, like there, they were using a top loading VHS video, And I did have a top loading VHS video roughly about this time, but I was one of the last people to get a video in like my circle of friends and things. And I remember when I got this top loading Ferguson Video Store video, it was second hand and it wasn't considered particularly modern. And this was meant to be like the police department, unless they were being slightly, even by then, a bit postmodern, that like, you know, always a bit anti-technology, so the technology's a bit old. It'd be interesting to see when this, you know, places it. But yeah, one thing about this film as well, and again, that's an interesting one, like the practical squib effect, that still looks better than some of the sort of, you know, modern sort of, you know, I'm a big advocate for CGI, and again, talking about how modern movies are deconstructed. I don't know, unlike I was said over on it, which is an interesting tie into sort of short circuit technology and things. Yeah, the modern movies are deconstructed. I don't know where this subsection of people came from, but it's really fascinating that, like, alright, sort of again, when I was growing up, I feel like I said that every 5 seconds, but when I was growing up, that sort of practical effects and CGI was sort of, you know, if you saw a bad CGI effect, if you saw a bad practical effect, you would call it, but like, for the most part, I felt like when CGI was like the morphing video in black and white by Michael Jackson, John Landis, or, you know, the CGI in Terminator, people were like, oh my god, this is incredible. But yeah, now there's this like subsection of people who are like, oh, I can only watch films with practical effects and all CGI is terrible. But that's one effect that I do think, and it's fell by the wayside in a big bad way, is that practical squibs and practical gunfire, and it's one of the modern CGI effects that I just think doesn't work at all. It's just like you know, when you see a practical practical CG oxymoron, when you see a practical squib effect, it's just so much better. It just really works. Yeah, but sort of yeah, it'd be really interesting to do a little bit more research on this film, or for the blog post, like I say, hopefully put up there with the trailer of the Halloween 4 video. But yeah, to pinpoint when this film was made, because like I say, according to IMDb, it's 1991, and I'm sure the production company in this, which is called Phantom of the Mall Productions, which is interesting in and of itself, because there's a film called Phantom of the Mall Productions. Also, there's a film called Phantom of the Mall, and I'll just check that. But if this is saying 1989 and 1991, that could be 2 or 3 years in difference. So was this film still sitting on it? Actually, when did Halloween 4 come out? Because that wasn't... 1990 according to that video. Just look at the video box. Just check Phantom of the Mall.
You get 55 seconds. Why should I listen to you? Well, it's obvious that you have a very bad attitude. And bad attitudes lead to career problems. And career problems can be solved with a spectacular...
So I know there's Phantom of the Mall.
You're smarter than you look.
I thought it was fun.
And don't try to astonish me by telling me the government is in on this, because I always figured that out.
Well, you're smarter than you look. All right. How would you like to bag all
Didn't
the...
come with anything on IMDb, which is interesting. Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, 1989. So that would tie in. That's in. Yeah, thinking about it. Yeah, I don't think it was. That's actually interesting. It wasn't actually even a sequel. It was just called Eric's Revenge, which is. So that's 89. So that's the same year as this Phantom of the Mall Productions. So that'd be funny if Phantom of the Mall was made by K9000 Productions, but that's another thing as well. So you only sort of. Oh, that was one thing I was watching this last night, and I sort of said to myself that like, oh, this is before mobile phones, because that's one thing I've started sort of saying, that like it's become a bit of an in-joke to me now, that any film made between about 1985 onwards, people always say in the reviews, oh, it's before the internet, it was before mobile phones and things like that. So I was watching this, I was like, oh, it's before mobile phones. Then you look at the phone and think, wow, that's like, it almost looks like a radio or something, like even by 1989 or, you know, 1980s mobile phones. But then there's one part later on when he does get to Nine, the dog, and he makes a cellular phone call through the dog. That was like, it's like, wow, maybe it wasn't before cell phone technology. He was making a phone call through a dog, and that's again a sentence I wasn't expecting to say today. But that was another thing as well, doing like quote unquote research for this film last night. That the guy who does the voice for Nine is also the taxi driver in one of my favourite films, Magic, the Anthony Hopkins ventriloquist dummy movie, which is named Jerry Houser, and he's done tons of voiceover work and things like that. So it's kind of like, say, that's again where, you know, I'm a sucker for things like this, like Elastic Coincidence and reading into things that aren't really there, and I'll be the first to admit that I do. But having said that, though, I am always astounded that films that I'm really passionate for, or films I've got a real soft spot for, that I never would have thought the voice of Nine played an on-screen character part in Magic. I mean, you know, it's kind of a little cool coincidence to me and things like that. But again, look at this now, we're literally over 35 minutes into this film, still no Nine. So it's kind of like when I watch films like this that I grew up with, I really do see how, you know, they might only be little inconsequential things, but the incremental sort of effect it had on me, like I feel like I'm so grateful that and I've said this before on quite a few commentaries, but if I was going to be born 5 years either side of when I was born, or 5-10 years, I'm so glad I was born when I did, because I think it gave me such a good appreciation of film, music, technology. Felt like it's out of my attention span loads, and even I've noticed that more and more I have technology around me, and I always kind of prided myself on patience, that like I could stand in queues for ages, and you know, I went talking about the Phantom Menace earlier. I queued up for the Phantom Menace about 4 or 5 hours before the time, and I feel like that I've got loads and loads of, you know, patience. I can just sort of, you know, entertain myself, or just, you know, find something to look at, you know, or just think about things, whatever. But like, even I've noticed that more and more I use technology, that you think, like when I was watching this last night, and I was, in my mind, I was deliberately excusing it. I was like, oh, I'm second screening it, and I'm going on IMDb and things like that. And instead of just watching it, you know, I was like on my phone, IMDb, I was checking facts about German Shepherds, and checking what Steven Souza's up to, and all this kind of stuff. And I do think it is an interesting thing that, like, say, I mean, you know, like, say, this is, and again, you know, and I know nowadays there is that sort of postmodern element to it, where you can go, it's before the computers, before the internet, and things like that. And even like that, though, he's smoking that. I know I say this again in all films and stuff. He's took a punch to the face, but like in the sense that sort of, like nowadays, I feel like you're smoking in hardly anything, and this was just a film, and it got smoking in it, got drinking in it, you know, and this kind of stuff, and now it's like those are kind of things that really catch my attention, of like, oh wow, they put smoking in this film, or, you know, there's somebody's boozing in it, like, and stuff. But yeah, you've got this interesting sort of crossover period where, like in this, it was almost like a joke that he was anti-technology, and sort of, it was almost like, obviously this film has got a pretty good sense of humour, but it was a straight film, you know, it wasn't really necessarily played for laughs, I don't think, but it's still one of those things where I do think it's, especially looking back on it all these years later, that you've got this guy who's anti-technology, and if he was going to remake this film now, or do a very similar film, it would be, I think it would play so much, not better, but I think it would be a bit more sort of pertinent, that like it would be like, yeah, like now if you're anti-technology, like even me, when I saw the payphone in this, and I was thinking the other day when I was walking to this course that I said I was on, that like I was thinking, I saw one payphone, like, and it's a good, you know, a good mile and a half walk to this place. And to be fair, you know, I walked the most direct route, so I wasn't like walking through town centres and things like that. We talked about that. I think I saw a payphone that's in quite a prominent place in my local town centre being taken up yesterday, and I was thinking, wow, even I don't use payphones and things like that. So if just thinking about it, just like, you know, sort of spitballing off the top of my head, that like if I remember liking this shot last night, the way the water's reflecting on that wall, that's pretty cool actually. And that's funny. He's got the Beretta 9mm there. That was the Beretta 9mm. That was the go-to gun in the like James Belushi had one in K9, and Bruce Willis had one in Die Hard. I'll just check that and just see if that is the right gun. I'm sure it was. But yeah, if you were to write this film now, or if you were to like say a remake of this film, like imagine doing a character that was anti-technology, that like. How much stuff you can actually do now without sort of being online, without having some kind of digital presence there. You know, that like, I guess at the very least, your information will be stored somewhere, that even if you, say, literally went into the bank to get your money, would your account still be logged digitally? And I guess it would. And then, you know, like say your sort of phone records, even if you've got a landline phone, will all that be recorded digitally? So to live completely off the grid now, like, you know, would you just literally sort of, you know, basically have to live in a hut? And could you actually live in a, you know, a quote-unquote normal house and not have any kind of access to technology? Could you sort of pay bills and, you know, sort of, you know, get food and things like that with, you know, like say, you know, even if you say unemployed now, that like you get your unemployment, you know, I can't remember the last time I heard anybody say they had it sort of as like a check or a gyro or something. And then people who work, I can't remember the last time. I think the last time I got paid cash in hand legally, by the way, must have been like 1992, 93. I can't remember the last time I heard somebody say they had a wage packet or a pay packet. And it's just like, again, this interesting bridge period where, you know, how long has it been since this film came out? Like, you know, 15 years or something, 15, 20 years. The world has changed that much in this time period where, like I said, it's become as being a bit of a joke that like, oh, look at this, he's anti-technology. It's like, now you couldn't even barely do it unless you would like become like a hermit or something. Seems weird to type in Beretta 9mm. Can you delete search history? Yeah, it was, yeah, but that's how I always do things funny though, like talk about stuff like that like, say sometimes when I'm doing research for a commentary, or say, if you text in, say something again, oh, I'm just watching Die Hard, and then I always like, and it doesn't ever stop me from doing it, but every so often I'll just get that little sort of, just little thing will flag up in my mind that like, I'll say, oh, can you believe the terrorists in this film are this or that, or, you know, like, if like then I've just checked like for Beretta 9mm, and you think if Edward Snowden was right there, that everybody is checking your emails and things like that, that like, you know, it's like no, I was just doing research for K9000. It's like, of course you were, sir. We're just about 42 minutes into it now, and I guess it looks like 9 is, well, even now though, you still haven't seen the dog. You know, like say a little. I've always kind of like, I'd say it does seem about 45 minutes is and to be fair, it would almost be trade descriptions otherwise, and I hate that kind of concept of somebody saying, you know, I rented this film, and you know, I brought this film, and the dog went in it, you know, all but 5 minutes and stuff. Yeah, but that's one thing. Yeah, I think about 40 minutes, 45 minutes is probably the most you can push, you know, leaving something, although like, oh no. I was watching this last night though as well, and like say, you know, like say, just head in the sand kind of thing, but like, you know, there's a bit later on when the dog gets shot, and I think there's certain films I think I know why I don't watch them that much, because they're just too sort of heartbreaking to watch. Like, do you want to watch that film where a dog gets shot? No, not really. It's like, do you want to watch that film where number 5 gets hit with axes? No, not really. So it's like, I've watched this film enough to sort of to know about it, and I've got an appreciation for it and that, but then it's like, oh. Yeah, but that's another thing though as well. I do think it's really funny though, and again, talking about how generations now, every generation schools the next, you know, people change as the mindsets of people change, but when you do think somebody like that Edward Snowden though, he literally came on to the news and everything, and he basically completely hijacked his own life by telling people that, like, you know, I mean, obviously, whether it's true or not is, you know, debatable, but, like, you know, he's basically saying that the government check your emails and, you know, everybody's being monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And most people I know that found out that information were like, yeah. And then again, I don't know, you keep bringing it back into the Fantastic Four, but it's on my mind. But you go to sort of IMDb or YouTube and all these different things, and there's thousands of hours of people talking about, like, oh, the Fantastic Four this, and Marvel says Cinematic Universe there, and you know, and hashtag, you know, get, you know, go back home, you know, send the rights back home to Marvel and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, it's just like, I talk about people's priorities being so out of whack. Bit of rich coming from me doing a commentary for K9000, I'll be the first round net, but even so, oh no, they put the chip in his head. And to be fair though, again, it's like one of these things where you can deconstruct it on like a meta level, or like you know, watching a film ironically, but like there is something quite beautifully poetic about that. Like, but imagine being an anti-technology guy that has a microchip in their head, which is funny again in and of itself. It's just a great concept that even if that chip was just literally just something catapulted it into your head, it just stuck there, it'd be funny. But to literally have it an anti-tech, that's a cool little sequence there. I mean, you know, you can always tell the dog was a fake dog, but I like that in scenes like that where you go, well, the dog was fake, it looked fake, no, I'm done. But if the dog looked dead, really go, I really hope they didn't throw a German Shepherd out the window. I'll come to the German Shepherd. I need to say Alsatian, but I'll come to that in a second. But yeah, there's something quite, the script writing in that is perfect when you, like, an anti-technology guy got literally computer stuff now within his body that actually makes him communicate electronically with another life form. So brilliant. But yeah, when I said I was doing research for this film last night, I was checking about German Shepherds, and it's so interesting to me because when I was a kid growing up, you'd get people say Alsatians, especially in the UK. Obviously, didn't really go up with the internet, so sort of. I think she's in the Psycho 1998 remake. I think she's the sheriff's wife in that. Check out my other commentary. I don't know why I do an American accent sometimes when I do stuff like that. Somebody called me on it the other day, and I was like, yeah, I do an American accent. Like, it's watching too many. It's more warp my fragile brain watching movies. Movies don't affect us, right? But yeah, that's. Yeah, a lot of people used to say Alsatians when I was a kid, and I always thought, like, why do people call German Shepherds Alsatians? And then I think I have heard about it in the past, but doing research last night, it was apparently because the dog breed got popular, like, you know, roughly around World War One period, and because obviously for obvious reasons there was a lot of, you know, anti-German feeling at the time. That they sort of wanted to distance themselves away from Germany, so they called it Alsatian, which was named after the border, France border town, I think. Yeah, and so yeah, that, like, you know, and then obviously now I think it said in 2007 that in all kennel clubs that the term German Shepherd is completely, sorry, the term Alsatian is not like a recognised term now. And to be fair, I haven't heard anyone say it for a while. But yeah, that's another thing I know as well, talking about, say, how things have changed, but like, say, just even say, you know, growing up in the 80s and seeing things like, you know, terrible horse falls, and again, something like Never Say Never Again, or Rambo 3, and or sometimes you'd see some animal thing in a film and think, that doesn't look quite right. But then, like, even something as simple as like kennel club stuff, I used to think when I was a kid, and you'd see things like dog shows on telly, or things like Crooks, or these like cat shows and stuff, and you think, oh, these must, you know, these were the best of the best of animals and that. But you look back, and I'm not saying necessarily the cruel and, you know, inverted air quotes and things, but you think, you know, you're breeding these dogs, and like, even though I love German Shepherds, and it's such a cool animal, such a cool creature, and again, I should have done more research on this, but like, because they are bred a certain way to look like a German Shepherd, that how much of that hip displacement can you breed out of an animal? That, like, if you're breeding an animal that's sort of got to be a specific way, that, like, can you breed that animal without the defect in it, because you're always breeding the same dog over and over and over again? And that's another thing as well, when any kind of dog that's not a mongrel, I've always kind of loved the concept that, like, I've heard that if you bred all kind of cats together, you would basically end up with a tabby cat to all intents and purposes. And when you see all kind of dogs that breed together, they basically all mongrels and they look just like just a generic dog kind of thing. But since found out more recently, just over the years, just watching animal programs and having cats and stuff, and just talking to people who've got dogs and things, that a dog that isn't a mongrel or a cat that isn't a tabby, they've nearly always got some kind of problem. And again, I don't necessarily think it's done in a cruel way, because, like I say, I would quite happily have a German Shepherd. I'd love to have a German Shepherd. They're awesome dogs. But then you do think, like, well, if I have a German Shepherd, because I've read that a lot of German Shepherds have this hip displacement problem, that, like, you're automatically breeding that problem into that animal. And I don't know how, like I said, I know I said 2 minutes ago, but I wonder how much of, I wonder how you can get around that. And one thing as well, talking about, like, say, about things like this, and again, like, that makes myself feel bad, but, like, I always sort of, like, think in my head, even though, like, I think I checked what the oldest German Shepherd was, and it was like 18. So there's no possible way on earth this dog can be alive. But it's just like thinking, well, maybe, like, sort of thing. And then thinking again, that's one thing that, again, in my lifetime has definitely changed over the years. And again, I don't think it was necessarily done in a cruel way, but because a lot of people did used to say smoke years ago, said they would smoke around the dog. And even though I don't mind smoking, you think, well, that's probably not a good thing. And then, like, a lot of people would give a lot of people give cats milk, and cats can't digest milk, and a lot of people might give dogs chocolate, just not thinking that chocolate's poisonous to a dog. But it does seem to me that, like, a lot of dogs and cats years ago, even though I didn't have animals, it did seem to me that, like, a lot of dogs lived, a lot of dogs and cats lived about 5 or 6 years, and that was like maximum. And now you check, like, what's the world's oldest dog, the world's oldest cat, or even you knock it down a few positions, and it's like dogs now seem to live easily past 10 years. Obviously, not occasionally for accidents or just fluke things, but just as a general rule of thumb, an average dog or an average cat will live easily 10 years, and then 12, 13, 14, 15 years. So it's kind of like, it's like, what has happened there? Is it literally just diets have improved for animals, or people have become more aware, or or is it literally a case of like, it's almost like a sort of knock-on effect of, say, humans being a bit more healthy and going for runs, going for walks, going for going for walks and things, and, like, say, I know people might say drink, but I think smoking has become a lot less, or especially in people's houses. People don't really smoke in their houses anymore. And that's always a weird thing. I've never understood that. Like I say, I must say, probably on every other commentary, and everybody's listening to more than 2 of these commentaries going, oh my god, he's going on about it again. But it is one of those things, though, where I smoke 2 cigars a year, if that. But I'd never dream of going outside to smoke. Like, it's like, I'm in my own house, I'm gonna go outside? No fucking way. But, like, so, and that's and even that, this has been done a few times in sort of animal movies, but, like, they were like, I know what it is to train a dog not to sort of chase a ball, but I do like kind of like that the sort of the weight flips on its head of, like, the dog's like, well, why would I chase that kind of thing? I think they kind of got the voice just right though as well on this, because you could have, like, you could sort of think, oh, go completely sort of 100% like human, like, and go, and even go for maybe like a sort of a cool comedian, like whoever was popular at the time, like go get Bobcat Goldthwait in, or Richard Pryor or somebody. And then you could go completely the other way, like, if like, I am a robot dog kind of thing. And I think the voice, just, again, I haven't really done, I don't even know if I could do the research on this, to be fair, but, like, it seems to me there's a little tiny bit of vocal processing on there, but it's a cool voice. It's just that spot on voice. That was nothing, again, watching this yesterday. I haven't watched it for a few years. This is always interesting, watching someone's on PlayStation. It's like someone's on PlayStation. Somebody's joined a party, and that's what's always quite funny as well. Talking about, like, the internet sort of regeneration, is that, like, is that like I'm not on Facebook. I've got about I think 30, 40 followers on Twitter and things like that. But even I get like a relative amount of messages saying somebody's posted this or somebody's uploaded this or somebody's done this. And it's like there. I've got about 5 friends on PlayStation Network. It just comes up like that when you're watching a film. Yeah, but I think it just that perfect sort of. It just felt like that's the voice that would come out of that dog. Oh yeah, but that's the one thing I was going to say. I knew I was going to say something, but yeah, when I should have researched this last night, and again, I don't know how I could have done the research on this, but again, it's before the internet, but the way that dog analyses and looks at stuff is almost like the internet, and that's like again where I feel like this. Oh no. What's funny about that though? It says it won't happen again. That like as soon as again, it's a very knowing way of looking at a film, but as soon as Nina said it won't happen again, it was like, and I couldn't remember something. The same person's joined the party again. But yeah, the way that dog looks at the internet, the way that dog analyses stuff, or Nina as you know, that dog's got a name, but the way Nina looks at stuff is very sort of on the money of how people use the internet to find out what things are and how things work and things. What's funny about that little cat though? I know, because you don't normally see cats that small in films. It seems ridiculously small. It seems like it's like miniaturized or something.
Can be turned against enemy soldiers or our own citizens.
I never realized. Well, let's see about this. Commodore and I made a lot of friends in this city. A very powerful organization.
The Commodore. I can't tell what's funny when she just said the word Commodore. That's one word though. There's certain words that have been completely hijacked sort of in my mind, that like, because I grew up with like things like Commodore 64s and Commodore Amigas, I don't think I've ever heard the word Commodore without thinking of the word Amiga. And then it's kind of like sort of the word Genesis. Like if people ever talk about like Terminator Genesis or the band Genesis, I nearly always think of the console Sega Genesis, even though it was a Mega Drive in this country. That would have been ace if that guy with the moustache was Tom Skerritt or Tom Atkins. What is really interesting though as well, and it's so funny that like when you can just tell he's meant to be a bad guy, and it's kind of like, but why? He's just like a pretty normal guy with, you know, pretty, I say normal haircut, but you know, but it's just like, but you can just, yeah, it's like, oh, and that's one thing I've always thought was a bit of a shame, the way bad guys have always got like a huge team of like, you know, a guy with a mustache, an Asian guy, you know, like a tall guy, you know, it's like, it's almost like, and you don't really get, it seems like you don't get that gangs in real life, it's just a load of people that all look exactly the same, all from the same place. Oh, that's a bit insulting. And even like this, when I said I saw that car that said Nova, that like sort of, this is exactly how number 5, when he's like looking for tyre tracks and things, that like, I kind of love that in a way, that they're like, say when people talk about tropes and sort of cliches in movies and things, that like, I kind of like that, stuff like that's a little bit more subtle, that like, that's I noticed that line. That's such a great line. That line when he says, "Who did they call? I'm cybernetic, not psychic." That's pretty funny. But yeah, I think a lot of people notice the really obvious cliches and things that like think, "Oh, let's split up," when people say they're horror film and stuff like that. But I love things like that, like how many robots must scan, or how many sort of cyborg things must scan for things. Or talk about Genesis, that like, you know, like say like a Terminator would be able to scan for certain things or see what people have done in there. And this was a weird scene last night. Does he just go up to this guy and just grab his newspaper off him? And the guy's like, "What? Are you mad?" That is one of those situations though, that's kind of a great scene in a way, that like sort of always like reading try read the other headlines on a newspaper. That's another thing as well, talk about cliches in films, and I must have said this on other commentaries, that it's almost like, if you see a newspaper that almost looks like a real newspaper, fake newspapers, that's one thing. Movies, it's such a hard thing to get right. They just look like they've just been printed on an old printer. Oh. He's making a... Oh, he is outside. But is it kind of funny though as well, like talking about like tropes and sort of cliches that like, it's almost a bit like the chewing gum thing, that you can't take someone seriously who chews gum, but like, when did this sort of loose cannon cop like wear jeans and trainers? And I guess it is one of those things where, I guess if you're a little bit more laid back, you're more sort of tempted to sort of maybe not sort of dress in the conventional way. But even that's a great sort of scene though. And again, you could say it's a bit of a cliche, but like when someone's doing something what they know, like in their world, if you take this film as real, that like to them it makes sense that he's talking to a dog. And I guess people talk to the dog, so it's not so crazy that, you know, if you saw it in real life, you might not even notice. But there is something, if you know that he's taking a phone call and people are looking at him thinking, what is that guy doing? It's quite a good scene, really. That's one thing I didn't touch on as well. The music's by Jan Hammer, and that's again when saying about the music. Again, it's got quite a good group of people making this film. Like I say, written by Steven Souza, music by Jan Hammer, the guy that did Miami Vice. And what was really funny though, because just for a few seconds last night, every synth composer had combined into one. I was like, Harold Faltermeyer, Jan Hammer, Hans Zimmer. I was like, didn't he do Batman? I was like, oh no, it's Jan Hammer. But that's nothing though as well. Talking about like, say, people watch films in certain ways, but like when I was growing up, I know it was just because it was something that was getting a bit more popular. But films or programs with synthesizer soundtracks, like, you know, people like John Carpenter or Tangerine Dream or all these different people. Like, I just thought this was the coolest stuff ever. Like, you know, Wendy Carlos and stuff, and you know, I just never thought for a second that, like, you know, that people would think they were cheesy. And now, almost without fail, I'd almost like, you know, bet anything on it. Like, somebody put a shotgun to me head or something, that like, if you see a film with a synthesizer soundtrack, if you see a review for it, it's always, oh, the cheesy synthesizer score, and you're like, yeah, right. Like, you know, it's just, you know, when it just sounds like the right thing to say. I mean, that is one, like, I don't know if anybody's noticed this from commentaries, but the word cheesy, I'll try not to use it at any cost, and it's such an overused word, and people just, you know, there is a couple of things that you could say that are that, but very, very few things need to be called that. But I guarantee you, if I showed this, like, you know, some modern movie fan this film, and again, it's a bit of a generalisation, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was at all the case. If I give this to 20 or 30 big, you know, geek-related websites on the internet to review this film or do a commentary, it'd be all, oh, look at the phones, how big they are, and oh, look at the haircuts, and oh, look at this and look at that. I don't know why I've touched up on that a little bit, just because I think this is such a heightened version of, like I say, it literally is all those films. I don't think even Steven Souza would be the first to admit that he definitely has, you know, I don't mean in a plagiaristic way. I think, you know, when you're in that time period of like when films like Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, when they're just exploding, like, you know, and you've literally had a hand in those movies, I think you can't help but maybe want to deconstruct them a little bit, or maybe want to reference them again, or maybe want to just write in that style or something. So I think, you know, there is definitely a deliberate element in there. I don't think, you know, obviously I don't want to put words into people's mouths, the people behind this film and things like that, but I do think, like, that, you know, a lot of people now could not watch this film and not just rip it to bits. Like, and I think even people that like it, or people that grew up in this generation, would be like, this is stupid, and oh yeah, you know, like, and like proper just take the piss. And I think that's ever such a shame in a way. Like, say, I don't know when that become a thing that like you can't just watch a film and go, yeah, it's okay, or yeah, I enjoyed it. I do think that is a really sort of like, it's a fascinating thing to me, really, that style has come about. And I guess in a way it's kind of an evolution thing, really. On the one hand, I kind of like it, and again, this commentary could almost be a commentary for Fantastic Four. When Fantastic Four gets released on DVD, just play this commentary along with it, it'll go with it fine. But yeah, that sort of, I almost feel like that now, because people have slagged off the last 4 Fantastic Four movies so much, that like it's almost becoming to the point where even if it does revert back to Marvel, I probably won't be that interested in seeing a Fantastic. I probably will. I'll probably, you know, because I'm interested in. And then this is another thing as well. I was going to say, look how great I am, but I think real true movie fans, and not just I like movies, but people who would watch something like this, or would watch a film on YouTube, or would watch a film on VHS, no matter, as long as they're still making movies in some capacity, I'll still be watching them, and as long as I'm still knocking around to do so. But with like a lot of these comic book fans now, if these films if these films stop being popular, and they go back to the level of popularity into, you know, the mid to late 80s, early, you know, obviously once Batman Too Cold, but that sort of 85 to 89 time period, will a lot of these people be there? Because I'm pretty sure 20 years from now, if some company not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe makes a Fantastic Four movie, I'll be there. I'll be like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And it's like with films like this, I love buddy cop movies. It's one of those things that where now that's like a low budget CN Tower. I was watching a documentary about Dora Robertson where he jumped off CN Tower yesterday, and it kind of put me just in mind of that. But yeah, 20 years from now, like now people, buddy cop films and, you know, talking dog movies that like people are like you say, the, you know, so, you know, such highfalutin opinions of themselves. We said highfalutin, but no, you know, I you know, I'll be there for watch a film like this. You know, if you know somebody remade this 10 years from now, I'll be like, yeah, I'll watch a K9000 remake. Why not? That was funny actually talking about. Did you ever find women in black attractive? But that was one thing they were talking about, like, so people talk about things on the internet, but I don't know if it was just a genuine mistake or it was just like, you know, just somebody sort of having a bit of a joke or whatever. But either way, it kind of did sort of make me smile. But somebody said, I brought this because I'm a big fan of the K9 movies, and said it's not as good as the James Belushi ones. I was like, did somebody genuinely think this was like a sequel to like K9? Because that's like a really sort of interesting sort of, you know, because I think I just knew at the time that it was, you know, I think we'd say probably seen that trailer on the Halloween 4 video, that like I think I just knew it was instantly nothing to do with the James Belushi one. But I do quite like the fact of getting this, thinking, is he meant to be like Dooley and stuff, and is that meant to be Jerry Lee, and they're like, why is Jerry Lee speaking now and things like that. But again though, it's that thing where it's sort of you know, dovetailing into like, you know, Die Hard and things like that. It's such an extension of things like K9 and stuff. And you know, I think like how, you know, James Belushi's character in K9 was very sort of, what's that, Allen's that number plate, I don't know, that's a personalised plate, but yeah, that sort of yeah, it's such an extension of it, you know, well, it isn't, but I think you could almost say that it was sort of you know, definitely, maybe not deliberately, and maybe not like, but you could almost say this was an extension of the James Belushi character. He was anti-authority, you know, he was a bit like out of time, like kind of thing and stuff like that. So it kind of depends how you look at it, really. That like you know, that, you know, you could say, you could fall for this as being like, you know, sort of maybe part, especially as well because, depending on when this person reviewed it, I can't quite remember. But if it was after the K9 sequels had come out, which I guess it was, because they aren't just called K92s like K911 and K9PI. this kind of title does kind of filter through to that again. So that's kind of interesting. And this scene here actually talks about the references to sort of the James Belushi sort of film, but it's instantly I'd be interested in what films Morgan Fairchild was actually, but this kind of does sort of just exactly remind me of that scene where James Belushi pretends to be blind, and the guy in the hotel says, "Were you blind when you first came in?" He was like, "Yeah." Generally, he's got the wing mirror off his Mustang and stuff. So, so it kind of, again, you could be fooled into thinking it was like, oh, they're referencing the first movie again. I just want to watch K9 actually, just to see what Morgan Fairchild was up to. I think about it. Oh yeah, but I think that's one thing I was going to say earlier on, but I think I got distracted. But I would sort of say I can take or leave technology, but it is ridiculous to think though that like literally as I'm doing this technology, I'm doing it through a half decent mic setup, with a pop shield and everything. I've got like a laptop recording it. I'm watching this DVD on a PlayStation 4 that's connected to the internet that was coming up with different, when people are doing different things online, it's actually notifying me. I'm on my mobile phone, which is also connected to the internet, and I'm sort of I'm checking information about the film while I'm doing the commentary. It's like, that's pretty high tech, all things considered. Watching it on like a 55-inch TV. I mean, I actually could take a picture of the setup actually as I do it. Morgan Fairchild, she was saying, "Holy man." Even what's finished, Morgan Fairchild's done something in 2016. She's gone into the future. Two things: Scales, Evelyn Rising, Keeney Model Academy, Wiener Dog Internationals, Beethoven's Treasure. She's still making dog movies. Wiener Dog Nationals. What? There's more than one. Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2. A lot of dog movies in there. I'll take a picture just as my camera's on silent. Well, I'll put my phone on silent because in case it rang, like that was going to happen. Take another picture so you can hear the sound. See if it sounds cool. I'll try to put one of those online on the blog. This could be interesting. This will be a Russian roulette. I'll leave my phone with the ringer on just to see if it rings before the end of the commentary. Again, that's very similar to the sort of scene in K9 when they're walking through the main bad guy. What's the main bad guy name? Oh jeez. That was another thing as well. Watching this last, that was another thing actually about this film I thought was kind of, again, a very subtle touch, but kind of just tweaked it. Like how you could watch this and go, oh yeah, buddy cop movie, oh yeah, talking dog, sci-fi, blah 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 blah. That's one thing. But the one thing I did like about this was he's already got a partner. It's one of my favourite lines in K9 when James Belushi says, when his captain says, if you want a car, you've got to get a partner. And James Belushi says, well, I'll take Lidecker. He's got to like, Lidecker's dead. And he's like, yeah, that's my husband's partner. That's one thing. As soon as I thought about that line, it made me think about this though. It's kind of cool that like, he's already got a partner. So it's kind of like, again, just change it up just enough, and I think that's what gives this film quite a lot of energy in a way. That, like, say, it's kind of K9 TV series. What the hell? Oh, it's the other K9. I'm just trying to find. Again, though, that's one quite cool thing that we think about, like Doctor Who. Though it's a robot dog. A robot talking dog called K9. That's not cool enough. What is his name? Lyman is the name of the bad guy.
Eddie, please, it was my project. I just want to...
It was her project, just like the Blair Witch Project.
The only guy in the city who hates music, CBs, CompuSpeak, and every other type of transistorized garbage. It's the ultimate curse. A channel he can never turn off.
What was CompuSpeak? Was that a real thing? I never noticed that last time. What is it? I hate, but even now, this is a kind of when they got that tail end of that weird sort of laser focused almost like that. He was saying technology that he hates. He said CBs, and he's made a cellular phone call all in the same movie. Pretty cool, eh? Can you speak? He finished it off anyway. Can you speak limited? Can you speak voice recognition software? Maybe it just sounded cool, right? Oh no. One thing I'm looking forward to seeing Chris Mulkey in is the new series of Twin Peaks, and that's actually one thing though as well, because I loved Twin Peaks as a kid. I can never remember Chris Mulkey being in it, which is weird because I used to like Twin Peaks, and I'm surprised it made that connection. But yeah, I just looked on Chris Mulkey's IMDb page, and he said he's going to be in the new season of Twin Peaks. But I'm the only person to come up with this theory, and I may as well put it out there while just last little bit of commentary. But for a while, it looked like it wasn't going to happen because David Lynch said he wasn't going to do it for some reason. And I did think of this I thought it was a great idea, where why not make Twin Peaks without David Lynch? And I know that's sacrilegious to actually say, you're going to love David Lynch, love Twin Peaks. It's brilliant. Oh no, they shine the laser into the dog's head. So it's kind of like, because like you think, well, you can't have David Lynch to make Twin Peaks. And I'm dead glad David Lynch is back on board, don't get me wrong, I won't have it any other way. But if David Lynch said, I'm flat out refusing not to do it, if they'd have made a series of Twin Peaks where it was just quote unquote normal, would loads of people be watching it thinking, oh, this is dead weird, because it's exactly like a normal TV show, and people literally reading into every single scene thinking, oh, like what he's done there, this is the dialogue there, so weird, but then realising it's not David Lynch again, oh no, it's just a normal show. Yeah, maybe it won't work after all. Oh no! But it's like the way that whatever that was that Scanner was talking, you can almost imagine that being Nina's voice through the whole thing. So, and again, like I know I said it 15 minutes ago, whatever, but I think they got the voice pretty much bang on. I'm sure I read somewhere there, cold coffee doesn't have no taste. Yeah, it kind of doesn't, that's weird. I also read yesterday that Coca-Cola, if you leave it in the sun too long, it goes clear. That could be bullshit. Worth checking out. Apologise for the swears, by the way. That's just 2 so far. It's a 15. That's one thing though, that the fighting in this is again, it's that weird sort of middle of the road thing where it comes almost like Return of the Saint or something like that, and then it's kind of almost relatively tough and modern. Oh no, he's good. Oh nice. Well, that's oh, he's a good dog. That's one thing I think I must have mentioned this on the Turning Hooch commentary, but that's one thing, if you ever watch the making of anything like this, I'd love actually see a making of K9000. If that's out there, that'd be really cool. But yeah, if you ever see the making of stuff like this, all it is the animal trainers behind the camera, like making noises and blowing whistles and tapping things and everything. It's like oh, it's not quite as it's not quite as cool as you'd think. What's interesting about this though is that I was watching it last night when you saw that like that tower thing. I thought that that was instantly like kind of that guy looks familiar. I don't know if he's the guy on the left there smoking with a curly eye. I don't know if he's in Halloween 6. That'd be interesting if he's he might play John Carpenter in Halloween 6. IMDb. Case of Myers. Jeff finds Chris Mulkey attractive. Well, the guy that played John Stroh, yes, he is. He's in Halloween 6. Well, who'd have thunk it? I love how the parents in that called John and Deborah. It's such like a sort of, again, it's like, who are they named after John Carpenter and Deborah Hill? Oh my god, he just took a punch to the face. Oh god, I don't know. Oh, that's quite a good line. Save the whales tomorrow, we save the butt today. What's quite crazy about that though, because again, looking at it sort of, you know, through a more modern eye, but the way she looked at that gun then was like he'd passed her some alien technology. But that's the thing though as well, talking about like say how this film sort of plays fast and loose with say being old fashioned and being sort of new, but the way that when they're taking the stuff to the you know, they're trying to escape with all the computer equipment and they're using like mainframe like computer tape reels, and it's like how this could just be made, you know, 3-4 years before the internet, and it's like it's so sort of, you know, so old fashioned in a lot of ways. Cool explosion. Oh no.
K9000 backup disks. Eddie Zeiss has them. He can use that data to create an army of catch teams. We have to stop him.
Oh god. No. And this is almost identical to the K9 ending, thinking about where Jerry Lee's going after the helicopter. Oh no. Jesus. I mean, that's what I was saying though, like that scene where Nina first knocks that guy out the window and you're like, you know, like looked, you know, he even saw the dog for like a second and it looked fake, and then like that, it looked a little bit too good. Like, you know, it's like, what did they just throw him down a hill or something? I don't know if I remember seeing in the credits who it says who Nine is played by. Normally relatively good for starting. Like, I didn't notice it yesterday. In fact, I don't know off the top of my head. That's weird for me because I nearly always know the name of the real animal actor if it's just one actor. Like, you know, it's Beasley and Turner and Hooch and Jeb and Jed even in The Thing and stuff. That's one thing I did think was interesting because they both get shot, and I thought that would have been a quite neat touch actually, because I know it's one of those things where I must have said it on the Turner and Hooch commentary, but it instantly gives you film. If you're doing a film with an animal, if you kill that animal off, like, you know, in like say Turner and Hooch, Old Jell and all things like that, Old Jell again, which gets mentioned in K9, and you know, like, you know, it's like instantly gives you film that instant little bit more credibility. But I think it would be quite funny if they said they both died. What's interesting about this though, because it says 90 minutes on the box, and I remember, I don't know if it's just because like I don't like seeing like a dog limping and stuff on this, but this scene Let me say, this scene seemed like it was on a lot it was on a long time last night. So if this all gets wrapped up in 7 minutes, it's gonna take some doing. Again, things like that, even seeing that like POV shot. I mean, I think there was a time when, like, you know, talking about Halloween, like, you know, that was one of the very, not one of the very first films, but one of the very first films that popularised POV shots. And it's like, you know, to think now it's just so, even in something like this, which is like, you know, looks like, you know, a glorified TV movie. It's like, you know, they're kind of using POV shots. I never noticed it's got a digital watch on there. That's actually an interesting thing. I never noticed that before. You would think that would definitely be an analog watch. Guns, guns, guns. Oh no! It's uncalled for, just go roundhouse kick to the chest. Well, no, roundhouse kick. Oh no! That's one thing though about when you see like dogs doing that, because obviously it looks heartbreaking in films and stuff. But I remember once seeing the guy that trained Lassie, and like he just instantly, you know, he said to the dog, like, pretend like limping, and he just like literally just start doing it. It's like, oh, it's pretty cool. I'm never 100% sure if I ever want to know how they learn how to do that, because you think, well, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's probably all done, you know, with treats and things, but it's still like, oh, oh no, it's going up, ah. Yes. Like things like that, though, what's really funny about that to me, because in a way like that there, because that looks like that sort of observation has been there a while, but I don't know why, I'd be more scared going up in that than I would sort of being in an aeroplane or something. Oh no, Nina. I think I will just check if it was Jad or Jad for the thing dog. I think it's Jad. I think it went. It is Jad. Jad, 1977 to 1995. Jad was born in 1977. He's an actor known for White Fang. I think I must say it every single time I do one of these animal commentaries, but Jed has got 4 films on his IMDb page. Sometimes 4 films, 3 other films than most humans have got on there. Oh no, he's struggling over the steps. It's like there though, like, you might know that one looks really, like, that's quite high up, and it's constantly going up as well, the observation tail, that's quite good. That looks pretty good. That looks like him just sort of hanging out the edge of that. That's a good shot. Sometimes you think, how did they do it? They probably just did, but that looks really good. If that's some kind of optical or something, that's... This was talking about great stunts though. And like I said before, this is brilliant. Yeah! That's really cool. Like they actually fished it. Oh, that looks like just a fake guy. But then, I think that's a real person there. And the way they're not cutting away. Oh, they have no. He's gone through whatever that is. Oh no, the dog's off anymore. Oh no. Can't take much more there. Like that's always a great thing in movies though as well, and again it's kind of admirable in other ways, but like imagine if you tried to short out something so it would come back down, like it'd be like, that's not happening. And what's actually interesting about that, because Steven de Souza I think wrote Beverly Hills Cop 3, and there's a part in that where a ride goes funny just because somebody pulls a couple of levers, and you think, really? Yeah, he did write Beverly Hills Cop 3. Oh, that's actually kind of cool thinking about it. What's interesting about that, how it all ties together, because Steven de Souza wrote Beverly Hills Cop 3, let's just check that.
No,
Beverly Hills Cop 4 comes up before Beverly Hills Cop 3 on IMDb, that makes sense. Steven De Souza, yeah, written by... So Steven De Souza wrote Beverly Hills Cop 3, which was directed by John Landis. John Landis' son Max Landis wrote Josh Trank's last film, and Josh Trank directed Fantastic Four. And there you go, it all comes together. This is the poster shot here. Even that, does that happen in K now that they go on a beach? Does Jeremy wear sunglasses? They definitely go on a beach though. Be interesting to do a shot by shot comparison. Or play them both at the same time.
Well, there's a lot of arguing and impressed. But getting me my way was better than embarrassing some very powerful people. So we're going to start the whole project from scratch. And it's going to take about 4 years to be up to speed.
And why is it so funny they've seen like a dog or a cat pretending to drink through a straw? It's like, oh okay.
Police work will show as much potential as our original idea for national parks.
That's nice, Doc. Very nice. Now, if you'll excuse me, my partner and I have a date with this.
Tell you what though, it's not a bad physique considering years ago, you know, a lot of 70s, 80s guys were a bit, he's showing his cool scar.
About you being the wrong guy for the job,
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I was wrong.
Oh no.
You're just a regular guy.
The regular guy.
I'm beginning to realize that, well, the
He's just a regular guy with a computer chip in his head and a cybernetic dog and an alcohol problem. The Broad? What kind of dog is he? Oh, he fucked his... You know what though? There's a few sentences I wasn't expecting to say today. I knew I saw this film last night. I never thought I'd really ever see a German Shepherd bark and flip his sunglasses over his head. That's not something you see every day. Oh, he's a real dog now. Whatever that means. I like this piece of music though last night. It's look at that for everyone. Exec producer Stephen E. De Souza. Thanks for listening, everybody. I have to pick a random crew member. Henry Kingy. There you go. Thanks for listening and catch you next time.